You're listening to Crystal and Emily on Love Your Shelf, the best librarian podcast in the extensive and highly competitive field of librarian podcasts.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Well, we are...
Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. And we're back with episode 14 of Love Your Shelf.
Season 2.
Season 2, yes. I wonder when we're going to break into another season.
I know. I
mean, because it is arbitrary.
It really is. And I don't know. I feel like there used to be sort of a pattern to these things as far as like television goes. But I don't know. I think that there's room for flexibility now, so we can go along with that.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Here's an episode.
Take it or leave it.
So this week I have a lot of random stuff.
Great.
Yeah. I just was all over the place. And
yeah, you had a week off last week, so
yes,
you had time to explore.
Every day was a wholly different mood. So so it's going to seem
one.
Exactly. It's going to seem maybe a little crazy, but
I'm here for it always.
Exactly. It usually is at least a little crazy. But I want to start talking about a book called A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan.
G-I-N or J-E-N?
J-E-N.
Okay.
Makes a big difference there.
It really does. I don't know where this story's going.
And which I think that's a hilarious title. Like, what does that even mean? You know?
Yep.
And it is one of the more strange books that I've read recently.
Ever.
And it's it's described, and it's coming out later this summer, but it's described as part millennial social comedy, part psychedelic horror.
Oh my gosh. And there's more?
Yeah. It's a sly, unflinching examination of the hidden drives that lurk just outside the frame of our carefully curated selves. Ooh. And basically, it's about this couple. They're millennials. And they both work in food service, like in restaurants.
Okay.
But like, higher end restaurants. One of them works in a like a vegan place, and it's not like fast food.
Okay.
And they basically only communicate with each other through Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
Or communicate with the world through Instagram. And the male partner, the guy, had worked with this other woman several years prior, and then became sort of fixated on her. And then he shared that fixation with his girlfriend.
Okay.
And so they sort of, spy on this girl through her Instagram. And talk about, like, they act like she's a part of their lives.
What?
Yes. And
is her name Jen?
Yes. Good guess. And it's really, it's extreme, but you can see that the seeds of that in how we communicate through social media now.
Yeah, sure.
And everybody has lurked on somebody's photos.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not me, but
no,
everybody
like
else
so
has.
Many others.
I've just heard of this happening. So anyway, it gets into the horror aspect of it. But you never really know exactly what's going to happen. It really, the horror part doesn't come until the very end. Although that it's kind of building. There's something happening,
Yeah, I mean, is it kind of the horror aspect? Is it kind of what you would expect with a story like this? Or is there kind of a...
Oh, no. I don't think so.
Okay. That's kind of what I assumed. So that's cool.
It sort of reminded me of the vibe of The Fly.
Oh,
you
ooh.
know? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the more disturbing films, the Jeff Goldblum one anyway.
Oh my gosh. I just remember, yeah, as a kid being exposed to that and being really creeped out by it.
Yes. I mean, it's not exactly that, but there's definitely like body horror in this one,
Okay. Okay.
and but mostly what was striking, the most striking, is that these two characters are just not really fully realized. And it's not that their fictional versions are not fully realized. They're
Okay.
just sort of shells of people
Right.
because they don't develop themselves. They don't
Right.
have any passion or goals or
Yeah.
skills or talents or, anything. They just kind of go through life on this real, vapid
Yeah.
level. And so that's really what it's mostly about. But then there's also
Well, and
the
I
wild
don't
part.
know, it even, I mean, that alone kind of sounds like a horror movie. I'm a
Yeah.
millennial, and when I worked in retail, which I think that, honestly, I could never work in the food industry. I just could not.
Yeah.
Retail is as far as I'll go. But working in retail, even, it's like, I mean, you're so busy, you work late. I didn't feel like I had time for anything else really. So like, I don't know,
Hmm.
just that idea of sort of, yeah, living this shell of a life, as a shell of a person. I feel like it could easily happen.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely, we all know people, I think, who are kind of falling into that spectrum.
Sure, sure.
Um, we like to pretend that we're not susceptible to those things, but
Man, yeah, so true. On
yeah.
some level, absolutely.
After my staycation week, I was like, okay, I better get out of this house
Yeah.
and go do something meaningful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, sometimes we need that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you need to reset, but that you wouldn't
Yes.
want that to be your
Your
everyday.
whole life, right.
Yeah. Well, so
Cool.
then switching gears,
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple of nonfiction books, and one is called Noise: A Flaw in Human Judgment by Daniel Kahneman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have I talked about this before?
I don't I
I
don't
keep doing this where I'm
well, and
talking to other people about it.
I have a horrible memory, but give us, your audience,
Okay.
some of the plot
I don't
or
think I don't
plot, so to
think I
speak.
I don't think that I have, but
Okay.
I don't know, for something made me think that I have. Anyway, um I have lots of flaws in my human ability, so that's
I don't.
so basically this author wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, which was a huge bestseller a few years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And is he basically the book is about noise,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like things sort of. I'll give examples for how to define it because it's a little bit uh, sticky.
Okay.
But so basically, if you've got two judges
Uh-huh.
in the same courthouse
Uh-huh.
and they have the same crime presented to them, the same criminal even,
Okay.
they could give two completely different sentences.
Uh-huh.
And so that um, skewed like
Yeah.
judgment there is what he's describing as noise. So it doesn't make
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
And it causes huge problems, as you can imagine. So
Yes.
same thing, and so there's tons of studies that he cites, but same thing if you go to two different doctors
I was
and they
about
give
to
you.
say that. That's something, as I've grown up, that I've unfortunately realized is that
Hmm.
you you will hear something different from two different doctors and another thing online, and what do you actually do?
You're right. And even on a micro level,
Hmm.
those are major issues, but even on a less important level, I guess,
Hmm.
there's always the parent who you can
Yes.
go to get a different answer,
Yes.
or the boss,
Uh-huh.
or where you you get one response, but that there'll be another one
Right.
from somebody else.
Right.
And so obviously that causes major issues with injustice and safety. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's just, yeah, lots of things. And so the book is about sort of how to, looks at all of these studies and all of this evidence, and he's trying to work out ways to avoid
Okay.
those things.
Okay.
Where I mean, there that's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But like in the case of judges, there was a Supreme Court justice
Mm-hmm.
years ago who noticed this, that this is happening,
Mm-hmm.
with different opinions, and tried to make, well, further than guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
tried to make it into, like, regulate it
Mm-hmm.
so that
Mm-hmm.
they're
It's the same across the board.
exactly
Yeah.
trying to level that field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of that, what has been undone,
Mm-hmm.
because anyway, there's reasons why some people want noise,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
why, yeah,
I
and then
mean,
why
yeah, it can be beneficial for some.
for some, yeah, yeah. So there's different fields, have to deal with it in different ways, but
Right.
anyway, it's really interesting. I'm not crazy about his writing style. It's clearly more scientific. It's not that
Right.
engaging,
Riveting.
right, but the information is, it's just,
Yeah.
he's a little dry.
Yeah. Well, and it's just so funny because I've been thinking about that concept, but not thinking of it as one solid concept lately,
Hmm.
again, like the doctor thing is sort of what I've been thinking about. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes you feel like you have a broken brain.
Hmm. Yeah, when you rely on information that's
Yeah.
noisy to make your decisions,
Right. Right.
it's hard.
Exactly.
So
Cool.
I would
Yeah.
it's also coming out, just, I think it's coming out later this year, but it's going to be a big one, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Cool.
another one that's coming out soon, another nonfiction, is Dopamine Nation: Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence by Anna Lemke.
Oh, interesting. I
Yeah,
like
and
that.
so yes, it's basically, and this is generalizing, but
Mm-hmm.
essentially now the problems that we're faced with are that we have access to, um, high reward
Mm-hmm.
activities.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can have anything we want instantly, basically.
Uh-huh.
And so and this sort of ties into the whole millennial
Yeah,
social thing,
absolutely.
social media stuff, is that, you post something and then you get
You
likes.
get a like and it
So,
feels
yeah,
good.
yeah. So you post more, or you
Mm-hmm.
spend more time on social media. And then,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, from shopping, which
Mm-hmm.
I,
Me too.
I mean, come on, especially, online stuff.
Me too. It's too easy.
Yeah. I
They
haven't been in like a regular store in a year, but
mm-hmm.
except for groceries, but I guess, yeah, no, pretty much. Um, but I have been buying things online, and
I was
it's
about to
so
say,
easy.
doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
Or,
Oof.
food delivery. It's so fast, so easy. You
Yep.
don't even have to talk to
Yep.
a person.
Yep.
And it's just, anyway. So basically, what the studies are showing is that this, like, the more that you have this dopamine high
Yeah.
from these things, it actually leads to pain, because there's a causal link between pleasure and pain. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's why people are so dissatisfied and stressed out and
Yeah.
all of this, because they can't get enough to keep the dopamine high going, because it's at a too high of a level,
Right.
and that in turn leads to crashing and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And so basically, she's, talking about, like the concept of drug addiction, but with
Mm-hmm.
a wide variety of things being the drugs.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. Live that.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. I mean, because, yeah, it's a thing where, I mean, slowly over time, I've been wired that way. I guess we all kind of
Yeah,
have.
we all have. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then, I was thinking too about social media. Before I had a job where I wanted to promote
Mm-hmm.
the things that we were doing, I really didn't have a social media presence.
Right.
I was on Twitter, but I just lurked. I just read, I didn't
Yeah.
post my own things. And I had a Facebook, but it was like 10 of my high school friends, and I didn't even ever use it.
Right.
And so then, I get into a job where I want to get the word out that we're doing things with the library,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly I'm on social media and something that I have to deal with.
Yep.
And I don't particularly like it. Sometimes I do, sometimes it really bugs me. But it's really like I can't think of a way that we could conduct our business
Oh yeah.
without it.
Yeah. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, especially when something like that, I thought that this book, and I do think that this book is a good way to help you find balance
Mm-hmm.
in especially if it's something that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I didn't have to do it for work, I would probably just shut it off
Right.
and not participate. But once you're in it,
Yep.
it kind of sucks you in further.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to separate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh wow. I'm interested in that. I might want to read that.
Yeah, you
Cool.
can. And
You too.
you too can read Dopamine Nation. But anyway, so those are the books that I read last week. Do you have something you want to talk about? We can shift into
Yeah,
your stuff.
well, book wise, I've been listening to, I told you about the unfortunate situation with my audiobook.
Yes.
I had downloaded a book. It's called The War That Saved My Life, and of course, I didn't write the author's name down, but it's pretty popular. It's not difficult to find. But I had downloaded it on Overdrive and was listening to it on my Libby app, and I had about 2 hours left, and so not much of the book. And then I realized that I woke up yesterday morning and it had been returned, and I just totally missed it, and someone else snatched it up in that time. So I'll have to find the hard copy and just finish reading it. But I so highly recommend this story. It's really lovely. It's and tough and sweet all at the same time. I got the recommendation from one of my storytime moms. Her daughter has been listening to it, and I've been trying to read as much juvenile as I can, and kind of know what the haps is.
Yeah, yeah, and
I'm
that's your job. You have to, be up on what are the new trends and what are
Yeah,
people into.
yeah.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, it all happens so fast. It's so hard to keep up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really lovely. It's World War II is happening, and they're in London, and this young girl and her brother live with a pretty awful abusive mother, and the little girl has a club foot, and so the mom makes her feel really horrible about her foot. And um they anyway, the children of London are being, sent off to the country in case of a bombing. And so the little girl and her brother managed to escape from their terrible mom, and they end up living with a woman in the country who's just wonderful and takes care of them. And the little girl learns about how to ride horses, and she's able to sort of move and feel free for the first time in her life. And oh my gosh, it's really lovely.
That does sound lovely.
It is. Yeah. So I'm really excited to finish it. And then it has a sequel too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Ah. Well, good. I get questions about children's literature too, or,
Mm-hmm.
young adult literature
Mm-hmm.
too. And so I don't always know that kind of stuff, because I
Yeah.
don't read or listen to it that much.
Yeah.
So I need recommendations
Yeah.
for what to send, library patrons to, because not every librarian can read everything that comes out,
Oh,
and
yes.
uh,
It's so much. Well, and
yeah.
there's so much. I mean, maybe it's my imagination, but I just feel like there is so much since I was a kid. I mean, different
Oh, I
like
think, yeah.
fantasy series. You were with me in my office yesterday when a man came in and asked for a book recommendation based off a series he had read, a fantasy series he had read and liked. And there were a few that you and I knew of, but I was, roaming the shelves and there were so many that I
Hmm.
had never heard of. I've seen, but never heard of, or, anyway, it's a lot,
Yeah, so
but
you don't know really how to recommend it to someone,
yeah,
or
yeah. So anyway, he ended up going with Holes, which is not a fantasy, but it's one of the best books ever.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
I love Holes. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I've been reading. I have watched a couple of things since we last spoke. I watched a new series on Netflix called The One. Did you watch that by
Ah,
chance?
I did. Oh,
Okay.
well, I watched a couple of episodes.
Okay. I really liked it. I mean, it was just a good riveting show. And I it had some sort of like Black Mirror vibes going.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about the series Brave New World a while back. It had some Brave New World vibes, but and yeah, I can never kind of tell when shows like this are set. It seems to be, I don't know if it's, the present on an altered timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Um Anyway, they're sort of not clear about that, but as you know, it's about a company who finds a way to match people based on their DNA. And so you're matched with your perfect match and using DNA. And so, yeah, it causes the world to turn upside down. And, people are divorcing left and right to, go be with their match. And, yeah, I really liked it. There were a few, characters that you follow, and I enjoyed all of the different storylines. There's a body that's found, and the company, the matching company might be involved, and I don't know. I really liked it, and I hope they end up doing another season.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely one that I'm gonna finish up because there's it for one thing, that is a really wild concept,
It
you know,
is.
and
It
it
really
leads to
is.
so many problems and so many issues.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you start unraveling that, and like you said, all of these people's current relationships
Yeah.
disintegrate, and
Mm-hmm.
then
People who
and
are,
then
in happy relationships, who are, the idea is that, somebody who's totally in love with their partner would, can't help but be attracted to and drawn to this person that is, who's their match.
mhm.
And that's wild.
Yeah, yeah, that it's definitely, and it's visually an interesting
Yeah.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's 8 episodes. I watched it real fast. Anyway, this is sort of a wild card. So my fiance, one thing that cracks me up about him is he loves American Idol. Like last year, he watched the whole series or the whole season without me. Like, I mean, he would kind of keep me posted, and I saw a few performances, but and I called who won last year, by the way. But anyway, so this year we've been watching it together, and I like it a lot. I don't know. I watched it a little bit as a kid when Kelly Clarkson won,
Hmm.
and I feel like it was just kind of all about how mean can Simon Cowell be, how awful can he be as a
Yeah.
judge. And how many, silly and ridiculous performers can we get to, look stupid or whatever? Which I don't find entertaining. I find it kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And
I hate that part.
yes, I'm just like, you are clearly just looking for attention, and the fact that you're okay with this kind of attention says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just feel like now it's a lot. The judges are Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke someone. He's a country singer. Luke Bryan. I don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry. Sorry,
Luke
Luke.
is sufficient. Yeah.
But I really like them as judges. They're supportive and uplifting. They can be firm, but they know their stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just really enjoying it. And there are some really, really great performers. And I'm excited to see who's going to win.
Every once in a while I'll get into like a show like that
Mm-hmm.
that's reality competition or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I just haven't. I guess a few years ago I watched a couple of seasons of The Voice, which is basically
right.
That.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well,
But
and
they can draw you in.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, so I'm weirdly excited. Didn't see this coming about American Idol. And then I know this is one you and I talked about, but it's a movie on Netflix called Moxie, Moxie.
Oh yes.
And yes, it's so good. It's sort of I don't know, would you say it's geared toward teens or kind of teens and up?
I think it is. It's not just a purely teen movie, but the main characters are in high school, so there's there's that.
Yeah, but Amy Poehler, I know she's plays a small part, but did she produce it?
I think so.
Okay, and she might have done more, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really empowering, it's sweet, and yeah, so, a young girl or high school girl, she's a young girl.
Yeah.
High school girl. I can't remember what the incident is that sort of sets everything into motion, but it's kind of to do with dress codes, I think. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Kind of the idea of being in high school and how strict dress codes can be, especially for girls. And a girl gets in trouble for wearing a tank top because, all the boys are checking her out. And the main character, this quiet, timid young woman, has the idea to make an anonymous zine, sort of fighting back at that concept of just sort of how unfair the dress code is, and it goes further into sort of just a great lady empowerment message.
Yeah, I really really like the movie, and the mom is somebody like my age.
Right.
So
yes.
I was I don't know, a little like, okay, I'm getting more used to that these days, but
yeah.
But she's an awesome, cool mom, so I was like,
Totally.
okay, then that's fine.
Yes.
And the like sort of theme song is one of my favorite songs, "Rebel Girl" by Bikini Kill, and the daughter, finds the mom's old zines that are all, girl power, riot girl stuff.
That's right.
And so I was like, yeah.
Oh my
gosh. I felt seen on that part.
Yeah.
But then and so I kind of thought that it was sort of like the high school teen movie that I always wanted.
Right.
But I got Pretty in Pink and Clueless.
Exactly. And I mean, I love those movies. I really do. But if I have a kid, boy or girl, I want them to watch this movie. I want them to behave like that and speak up and, point out injustice when they see it.
And what was funny to me, not funny, haha, but funny that just after I saw this movie, I was which I thought was a little bit over the top on that dress code treatment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they're maybe, exaggerating, but
Mm-mm.
because they humiliate this girl and make her
Yeah.
leave class in the middle of class,
Yeah.
calling her out, which
Yeah.
draws more attention to her
Exactly.
for what she's wearing than if they just let it go,
Right.
and it's nothing, really terrible that what this girl's wearing. And that kind of stuff, actually, I just saw, you know, something recently about a
Mm-hmm.
school that made all of the girls like that were wearing shorts or something,
Mm-hmm.
had they were not on, up to dress code.
Mm-hmm.
They all had to go stand outside and had to leave school. It was just really
What?
disruptive
I
and calls so much more attention to the way that they look,
exactly.
and it is only on girls, or
Exactly.
in a lot of these cases. I mean, not
Right.
only, but and there are points for dress code against dress code.
Yeah,
We didn't
yeah.
have a dress code when I was a kid, but a few years later they did, have one at the school that I grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I don't really have kids, so I'm not going to weigh in on what I think about that.
Sure, sure.
But um, but yeah, no, it was, there's definitely ways to handle it and ways that are really
Agreed.
harmful.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, the principal is just kind of a bump on a log as far as fixing fixing these issues
Yes,
go.
yes, yeah. She's really makes it worse by
Yeah.
inaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Anyway, great movie, sweet movie. My fiance loved it too. I told you yesterday, I was like kind of surprised at how enthusiastically he reacted to it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's got a great soundtrack too.
Yes, no, it
Yeah.
does. It was, I mean, it was like you want to pump your fists in the air.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's
that's what I got.
okay. Well, so yeah, I also watched that movie last week.
Hmm.
And then I'm going all over the place again.
Let's
So
go.
that was yeah, exactly. Then I started the series Amend, the
Hmm.
Fight for America on
Hmm.
Netflix, about the 14th Amendment, which is
Oh,
equal
uh-huh.
protection under the law. And it's hosted by Will Smith,
Oh,
and
okay.
Mahershala Ali is the narrator. Or well,
Nice.
there's a bunch of them, but Mahershala Ali, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and a lot of great actors are
Hmm.
narrating, or sort of taking on the role of some of these historical figures.
Hmm.
Um, it is very disturbing, but
Mm.
it's,
Hmm.
it's really important that we know all of this information, like how, what
Yeah.
this history was,
Yeah.
and how the Supreme Court ruled that, that a race of people don't have protection under the law and allowed
Right.
for segregation. And it, definitely serious content,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
really, really like slick, really well done.
Hmm.
Um, and so I would recommend it for sure.
Wow.
And then following up on that, I watched The United States versus Billie Holiday, which is on
Oh,
Hulu.
yeah. I saw that.
And yeah, Andra Day plays Billie Holiday,
Hmm.
and I didn't really care for the movie. I thought
Mm.
it took an odd angle on things,
Interesting.
but her performance was brilliant, and her
Cool.
performances of the music, the songs were unreal. And
She
then
sang.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
but yeah, and it's she got best actress at the Golden Globes, and she's nominated for the Oscar. So
Oh,
um
yes.
yeah,
Okay. Well, that's
so
great.
yeah, and if you don't know much about Billie Holiday's life, it would be enlightening. She had a
Hmm.
really hard life. She died at a year older than I am now,
Oh my gosh.
and just you know drugged and drank herself to death. But she had, a horrible
Hmm.
life.
Hmm. Which
Even
sort of
once she
led to it.
was, yeah, I mean, even once she was famous and made money and, was has sort of risen out of
Mm-hmm.
the problems that she had as a young person,
Mm-hmm.
she was still faced with so much racism and
Right.
segregation, and there were lynchings going on in the towns that she was going through, and just
Mm-hmm.
um, really, really rough.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'll definitely watch it if, if only for her performance.
Yeah, and that's kind of what after the first hour or so, I was just kind of doing other things, and then when she would perform, I would stop
Stop
and
and
watch.
pay
Yeah,
attention. Well, hey, that nothing wrong with that.
yeah, but I knew a lot about her life, so it wasn't new information. Which
Right.
I don't want to say that it's not worth watching. It's just yeah, they
Yeah.
really focus on like the legal aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
because she goes to court quite often, and she had the FBI after her for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was kind of the lens that it was looking through, which I didn't find quite as interesting. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, and then I had recommended to you a while back
Mm-hmm.
The Killing, which is a
Yes.
show that I watched years ago, and I since I talked to you about it, I started watching it again because it is a really great series.
I
Uh,
knew that there was something you and I had talked about.
yeah.
And this is it. This is so cool. Good. Thanks for the reminder yet again.
Yes. The Killing is a series that I think it started out on AMC
Okay. Yeah.
and then got canceled after 2 seasons. It got re upped for a third season, and then
Mm-hmm.
that was the final season.
Okay.
So the first 2 seasons are following this one murder investigation,
Mm-hmm.
and the third season is a departure. It's several years later,
Hmm.
and they're that's another case.
Interesting.
But but it really keeps you guessing. A lot of times, though, if it's not done really well, it keeps you guessing, and then the outcome is just so out of the blue that
Mm-hmm.
it's annoying. It's like,
Uh,
or then you go the other direction where you can guess right away what's going to
right.
have happen.
Right. Right.
And
Well, and then you don't know which is which sometimes.
exactly. And so at the end of each episode, you're like, oh, this person's suspicious,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
the next episode, oh, this other person is also suspicious. So, it kind of goes through, that like kind of cliffhanger,
Yeah.
but done in a really smooth, smart way.
Cool.
So yeah, I definitely recommend that, and
Yes.
it's out there in its entirety.
Yes. I'm gonna
And
I'm gonna do it.
and then I had some true crime that I caught up on.
Yeah.
A documentary called Stranger Than Fiction:
Mm-hmm.
The Murder of Angie Dodge with Scott Turow.
Mm.
And so Scott Turow is a fiction thriller novelist and a lawyer, and so he was kind of the host of this. It's a
Mm-hmm.
loose series, I think,
Okay.
and each episode is about a different case. But he uh, is talking about, in this case, a really, really fascinating case, even just on the surface. Um, it was a girl in the mid 90s. Angie Dodge
Mm-hmm.
was murdered. She was just 18, had just moved out of her
Mm-hmm.
house and been in an apartment by herself for like 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and then they really pretty quickly rounded up this one guy, a young
Mm-hmm.
guy, and proceeded to interrogate him for days
Mm-hmm.
until he says that he did it, or
Yeah.
that he was one of the ones that did it.
Right. Right.
And so he goes to prison. He's in
Mm-hmm.
prison for 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the mother of the young girl,
Mm-hmm.
the victim,
Mm-hmm.
has been like extremely vocal and outraged because there were supposed to be other suspects and nobody else ever gets
Right. They
found.
were just like, all right, guess we're done
We
here.
got one. Yeah.
After we forced this guy to, yeah.
Yeah. And so she does all of this investigation and um, and as the years go on, DNA becomes
Mm,
viable.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so the mother says, like, I don't think that this guy did it.
Oh,
And it's just chilling,
oh my
So
gosh.
she takes it upon herself to get this guy out of prison
Mm-hmm.
and find the person who did it.
Right.
And so, I mean, it is edge of your seat kind of like,
Cool.
so then what happens is I won't give all the details away, but
Mm-hmm.
they do they do DNA, and they end up using this familial searching.
Mm-hmm.
So they look
Mm-hmm.
for genetic relatives and then
Right.
narrow the thing down that way. And
That's how
that's
they
how they
caught
found it.
the Golden State Killer, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this was like a really early case of that.
Cool.
And so yeah, that's how they ended up proving.
Interesting.
And the only thing that kind of took me out of it is
Mm-hmm.
the DNA researcher, the scientist
Uh-huh.
who's helping with this, kind of goes out on her own and finds this mom, and they were working together,
Uh-huh.
and then they go to the local police, which is like they're different police officers than what had been
Okay.
in
Sure.
20 years later, and these guys do this like um I don't know, like roundup. They're like they just get really gung-ho, and they're real excited to be on the chase.
Right.
And it was just like a bunch of puppies. Like they're like, "Hey, all right, guys, let's go."
Oh.
It was it was kind of weird, but I can see, yes, I can see why they would be pumped up that they're about to go catch this killer finally, or you know.
I
Um,
mean, yeah.
anyway, but I found that a little bit off-putting, silly, but
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, so wait, what was this streaming on?
I think it's on Hulu.
Okay. Interesting. I'm
Yeah,
gonna check that one out too.
yeah. No, it's really good.
Wow.
And
Man.
then,
I love a family member heroine or hero or heroine story like that. That's sort of like I'm taking this into my own hands and
well,
getting to the
yeah,
bottom. Okay,
and
and I
I
should rephrase. I don't love those stories. That should never ever ever have to
no,
happen.
no.
But yeah, when they, sort of figure it out themselves, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, it was really rough, and I didn't know anything about the case, so I didn't have any background.
Yeah, yeah.
But it follows the mom going through like the trial, the first trial,
Mhm.
and just how emotionally
Yeah.
wrought that is, and then
Mhm.
um her turning into like this, I don't know, superhero crime fighting person,
Yeah, yeah.
and her changing, um I think was the one of the biggest
Wow,
surprises is that
yeah.
she was, that I guess she sort of found, I wouldn't say peace, but she found something, that,
Strength.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then to shift gears yet again, I have a
Mhm.
couple of other things. Um, One is I watched a stand-up special called Nate Bargatze, or not called Nate Bargatze. It
Yes.
is Nate Bargatze, called The Greatest Average American.
Yes, okay, yes, Nick and I started it. I haven't
Yeah,
finished it yet, but he is so hilarious.
he is one of my favorite
Yeah.
comedians. He's so dry, and his
His
delivery
I
is
was
hilarious.
just about to say his delivery. I mean, he can say a pretty average joke, and his
Yeah,
delivery is what makes it a good joke.
yeah. I have loved him since he did this special several years ago, where he talks about going to like a reptile,
Hmm.
I don't know what you call it, like not really a zoo, but like
Uh,
a reptile place, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what
And
you're talking about.
it is the most hilarious, one of the most hilarious comedy deliveries I've ever seen.
Yes, that's
He's
right. There's a crazy guy that works
Yeah, it's like in
there,
this guy's
right?
house, and
Yes, that's right.
he's talking about how they're just like in a room
Yep.
with a crocodile or
Yep.
something, and it describes like the creature or whatever it is, like kind of gets away
Yeah.
from the guy, and how everybody's like running for their
Yeah,
lives, and
how unstable the environment is.
it's brilliant. And then even better is like he talks about how you can actually go on Yelp and see the reviews for that place
That's right.
from the day.
Yep.
Oh man, it
It's so
it's
good. Well,
brilliant.
and even, I mean, okay, he had a bit that was so simple but so hilarious because he was telling it about, he had a story about how he purchased the same jacket, two of the same jacket, because it was reversible and he didn't realize that. He tries on the black one and is like, oh, I like it, I'll try on the blue one too, I'll take the blue one too. And just that concept is so funny to me. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's really great. I recommend that as well.
yeah. I don't think that this was his best special, but
Yeah,
I'll watch anything that he does because
agreed.
he's
Yeah,
fun.
I agree.
And then I watched something that's sort of out of character for me,
Hmm.
Jenny in Georgia, which is,
I've been
yeah,
wondering.
it's super popular right now. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix, and it too has like just a weird take on what you like. It's kind of like Gilmore Girls. It's like
Uh-huh.
the young mom, like very young mom and
Uh-huh.
teen daughter,
Uh-huh.
and but then it like has this Desperate Housewives energy. Did you ever watch that show?
Uh no, no.
I didn't really watch it either. I mean, I was aware of it and saw some of it,
Same. Yeah, bits and
but
pieces.
yeah, but it was the vibe from that was so much like um just over the top. It's like a
Yeah.
soap opera
Yeah.
and dramedy kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
the characters were just so outrageous,
Mm-hmm.
but then very serious things would happen to them, and there would be cover-ups of crimes or whatever.
Right. I feel like to me, at least knowing what I know about it, which isn't very much, it's kind of like characters from Sex and the City, but like you said, really serious, crazy things happen to them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Anyway, that
And
that combination in my brain is pretty nuts.
yeah. So I it was entertaining. There
Okay.
was kind of two sub or multiple storylines where it's following the mom, and then gives her history, when she was a teen mom, and then
Right.
follows the girl and her kind of stuff that she's coming through. It's a little raunchy, but it's
Okay.
teenager stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. It was uh it was entertaining for what it was.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll
put it
I'll
that way.
take that.
Yeah, there were some funny moments and
Hmm.
some OMG moments, like what just happened.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
And
cool.
then kind of winding down, I listened to a new podcast
Hmm.
called I Saw What You Did.
Yes. The
And
movie, the movie one.
yeah,
I think did I tell you about that a
it
while
could be.
ago?
It
Okay,
could
I
be
think
because
I
it was
did.
on my list and I just
Okay,
turned it
okay.
on. So
What did you think?
I liked it. I just jumped
Yeah.
to they have an episode that's on Reality Bites, that 90s movie.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so I was like, I gotta listen to this.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoy them. I've only listened to a few episodes, but yeah, they're entertaining and fun to listen to and funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah, great like new voices in the world of movie critics, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, it's a different take on
Yeah.
films. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I'll mention is just like a random thing. Every once in a while I've just come across something that's weird that I have to share. And I don't even remember what prompted me to get to this, but there was it was some kind of photograph that was making the social media rounds
Mm-hmm.
of a grave in a cemetery
Mm-hmm.
that had this like big cage, like not big cage, I guess like wide barred sort of cage
Oh.
over like where the coffin would be or the grave,
Uh-huh.
and just a few inches tall,
Uh-huh.
And I had never seen anything like that. And I thought, what could this be? And I think the
Yeah.
post was saying the same thing, like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And so apparently in the Victorian era,
Okay.
they, to prevent grave robbery, they would,
Oh.
and other stuff too, but grave robbery in part, they would put these things on top of graves called mort safes.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically a cage so that you couldn't get down in there.
Oh my
But
goodness.
you also couldn't escape if you were undead.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was also an issue back then.
I mean,
You got to add that bell with the cage.
yeah, of course. You need all those things
Yeah,
when
all the
you're going to
bells
get
and
buried.
whistles, so to speak.
So anyway, and so there's a bunch of them, and they're once you look for them, there's tons out there that you can see. They're all different and
Right.
bizarre, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
It's
yes.
morbid, but I had never heard of it, so I feel like I had to
I mean, it's
spread
a
the knowledge.
weird part of history and I get it.
Yeah.
It's foreign. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Not funny, crazy.
It's
Weird,
crazy.
dark.
Just keep
Either
going.
way, I'm interested.
Well, I think that's everything. So that was all over the place today. But that's kind of how I live my life,
Yeah.
so it's
It's
all right.
yeah. Yeah, it's true to real life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we will wrap up and meet back here in a week,
Yeah.
and we'll see what we've gotten up to in the ensuing days.
Ooh, just you wait.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.